I, 45 female, live with my children, twin girls and 2 teen boys, and my husband, 46, and my mother-in-law, 65. My mother-in-law moved in with us back in 2015 after my father-in-law passed because she was financially struggling. My mother-in-law is not easy to live with, and we struggled immensely at the beginning, but after a few years we found a way to cohabit. Then recently, 3 months ago to be exact, my parents, 68 female and male, house burned down, and they moved in with us while everything was sorted out with insurance and so on. My boys share a bedroom as my parents are staying in my eldest bedroom. My mother-in-law has struggled with this and seems to hate my mother being around. My mother's done nothing to upset her or to disturb her. In fact, my parents' bedroom is on the other side of the house. She doesn't, however, have a problem with my father and always finds a way to hang out with him. A few days ago, while I was away for work, a massive argument occurred between my mother and mother-in-law. My mother had accused her of trying to seduce my father, and there was some inappropriate text sent to my father. My father immediately showed it to my mother, and my mother responded as if she was my father to see how far my mother-in-law would go, and well, she went far. Well, my mother confronted her, and my mother-in-law called the police, saying she felt threatened, who then escorted my parents out of the house. This all happened while my husband was at work and the kids at school. My parents went to stay at a hotel, and they explained what happened to me over the phone. When I returned, I gave mother-in-law 2 weeks to move out. My husband thinks I'm escalating things and should forgive his mother's actions because she was lonely and confused. FYI, there's nothing wrong with her. She's in good health. So, am I the idiot for wanting her out of our house and my life? Edit. My husband has not seen the text and the pictures his mother sent my father. He hasn't seen it because he refused to, but I think I'll have to insist because I need him to understand how nasty she's been. Also, I wanted to kick her out immediately, but my husband begged me to give him 2 weeks so we could find a place for her. And my parents, being the saints that they are, said that I should give him that. My husband also has profusely apologized to my parents, but my parents aren't upset with us and hold only my mother-in-law responsible, as it was her disgusting actions that led to this. Not the idiot. She's not confused. She's a menace. She made a false police report, which is illegal. Hubby needs to grow a backbone. It sounds like he's been prioritizing mother-in-law over you the whole time and is now even backing her illicit behavior. I don't immediately jump to divorce, but Hub's backing the woman who tried to seduce him and then throw your parents out of your home? That's a statement. He drew the line, OP. I would take him up on it. Honestly, your husband can move out with mother-in-law so she's not lonely and confused. Exactly. Mother-in-law didn't just kick OP's parents out. She called the cops on them and had them removed from OP's home, which reeks of mother-in-law. She now thinks she's calling the shots in that house. And if OP's husband gets his way, she will. I'm gobsmacked at the delusion of the husband. She's lonely? Then go to bingo. Volunteer at the library. Join garden club. There are about 1 million ways an able-bodied 65-year-old woman can entertain herself and keep herself busy and engaged. One of those ways is not to put the moves on your daughter-in-law's dad. Heck, she initially moved in because of finances. Get a job. She wasn't confused about texting silver-haired intimate stuff at that poor man. She wasn't confused when she called the cops on them. She wasn't confused when she presented herself as the legal occupant of the house and had them removed. She's been there for 8 or 9 years now. She thinks she's got a position to call the shots in the home. I honestly don't know how she can stay after this stunt. I wonder what the OP's husband would say if the OP said this. It's equivalent to saying, I'm lonely at work, so I'll try to seduce the boss. I just sent him photos of my hoo-hoo. So when HR wanted to fire me, I called the police and had them escorted out. Imagine your home being invaded for the rest of your life by an entitled monster-in-law. Nah, I'd jump ship the first year. This poor OP has already put up with so much. I, 26 male, have been married to my wife, Emma, for 4 years. She was a social work major whom I met in one of my general education classes. I explained to her I was a mechanical engineering major. She then asked if I could tutor her in math, and that's how we began dating. Afterward, I decided to get my master's in Japanese to help me gain more career opportunities. My wife thought it was a silly idea and said she wouldn't be funding it, so we decided to keep our finances separate. It wasn't a big deal since I was still working anyway. I just had less free time, so she was making more than me during this time. It paid off, and I recently landed a high-paying job, and with that came more stress due to me having to travel to Japan often. I've been wanting to get into gaming, so I invested in computer parts coming around $1,500. Once I took the parts out of the box, my wife noticed the receipt and asked how I could be so irresponsible with my money. She assumed I still made the same amount, but when I told her that I made triple that amount, she began giving me the silent treatment. During this time, I began to notice my things were going missing. I wanted to go fishing with some friends once, and when I was looking for my rods, she must have noticed and said she had given them to her uncle. I told her not to take my stuff without asking, but didn't mind too much because they were old, so I just bought some more. Another time I was about to go to the gym, and I was looking for my pre-workout. I always keep 3 jars. Luckily, I had a can of Monster, and that helped. I asked my wife when she got home from work, and she said she had given them to her cousin. I asked her to reimburse me because they cost $50 a jar. She said I made enough to replace them and just ignored me for the rest of the day. One day when she thought I was asleep, she was talking to someone on the phone, explaining how she was going to move my parents into our house. She hadn't explained this to me. We only have 3 rooms. One is her office, one is my office and game room, and the other one is our bedroom. She told the person on the phone, who I assume is her sister, that she's going to give my gaming setup to her brother to make room and that I'll get over it eventually. So today I left work early to catch her in the middle of her plans. And when I walked into our apartment, she and her brother were there, placing everything into a box. I asked what was going on, and my wife, whose face was pale, said she was cleaning when her brother came by. I asked him if he planned on taking my computer. Of course, he denied it. So I went into the room to get the iPad we shared. I looked through the text there, and it clearly shows my wife telling him where to pick it up and to deny that he had it. I told him to get out and asked her why she thinks she's so entitled to my stuff. I've never yelled at her, and I guess this scared her because she began to cry. She ended up packing a bag and went to stay with her sister. While she was out, I picked up a lock for my office. Her sister texted me, calling me an idiot. I'm beginning to think I could have handled this better. Not the idiot. Stealing, lying, making major life decisions without you, not being supportive of you when you decide to get more education, and then punishing you when you get a good job as a result. She doesn't respect you as a human being. Yeah, saying leaving her over a computer is a ridiculous way to phrase it. You're not leaving her over a computer. You're leaving the toxic marriage. Get the heck out. Exactly. You're not leaving her over a computer. You're leaving her because she's an immature, dishonest idiot who's stealing your stuff. Time to toss the leech out and hand her her papers. Change the locks on the exterior doors. Pack her crap and put it outside. Tell the rest of her thieving family accomplices to come and get it. Separate your finances utterly. New credit cards. Kill the old joint ones. New passwords on financial accounts. File for divorce as soon as you can. Do not go cheap on this. A good lawyer could save money in alimony. She probably doesn't have enough money to pay a good one anyway. Go big and be happy that you don't have kids. Good luck, man. Find someone who isn't a thief. I'm a 30-year-old female. I have a son, Tom, who's a teen. My husband, 29, has a tween daughter, Anna. Our blended home life isn't without problems, but for the most part, all is well. The only issue we run into, for the most part, is what's fair to both kids. My husband doesn't allow his daughter to have a TV in her room, but I allow Tom to have one in his. Since Anna doesn't think it's fair, my husband has tried convincing me several times to take the TV away from Tom so that it's fair to Anna. I've said no. My husband doesn't allow Anna to stay up past 7:30 on school nights, whereas I let Tom stay up until 9. This has also caused issues because Anna fights him every night, trying to stay up. After all, it's not fair that Tom gets to stay up. So again, my husband tries convincing me to send Tom to his room from 7:30 on so that Anna thinks he's in bed too. I've said no. My son's allowed to stay up until 9, and I'm not adjusting his schedule or limiting him to his bedroom simply because a tween doesn't think it's fair that a teen has different rules. I have adjusted other things to be fairer. Before Anna and my husband moved in, I did allow Tom to eat in his bedroom, snacks, but Anna isn't allowed to eat in her room, per my husband's rules, so I did tell Tom that he can't eat in his room anymore. So I have made adjustments, but I'm not changing everything to spare Anna's feelings. My husband and I have spoken to Anna and explained that Tom is older, so he has different rules, but she still throws tantrums and slams doors about it. So my husband just wants me to change everything around. It's getting annoying. Anyways, the newest issue, snow pants. My husband rented a family retreat cabin for all of us this past weekend. On Sunday night, we left Monday morning. My husband wanted to have a fire outdoors. We went outdoors, and Anna started playing in the snow. So we told Anna she needed to wear snow pants because he didn't want her clothing wet. She starts saying she doesn't want to put on her snow pants and that Tom should be made to put his on if she has to wear hers. I immediately said no. Tom doesn't have to wear his because he's not playing in the snow. Well, Anna started to give her dad a tough time over it and was just overall whining about not wanting her snow pants on because it wasn't fair. And my husband kind of snapped and said, "Tom, just go get your darn snow pants on, please. I want to have a nice evening. Just please go get them." Tom said, "I'm not even in the snow though." And my husband snapped, "Now," and pointed to the cabin. So I told Tom, "Let's go." And we both went indoors and sat on the couch to watch TV. Well, my husband came in about 20 to 25 minutes later and asked what we were doing. I told him we wouldn't be treated like punching bags because his daughter spoiled rotten. Tom wasn't in the snow, and since he couldn't control his child, he decided he would control mine. At this point, my husband raised his voice and said it wouldn't be like this if I would meet him halfway for once. I was showing obvious favoritism and causing resentment because I allowed my son to do a bunch of crap that his kid wasn't allowed to do. Am I the idiot for telling him that his kid acting spoiled and throwing tantrums is not my fault and that it's on him to nip it in the bud, not me and my child's? Edit. It wasn't like this until 6 months ago, after we got 50-50 custody of Anna. Prior to the 50-50 custody, my husband only had her on weekends, and she didn't complain too often about things being fair when she was over. Not the idiot, and good for you for sticking up for your son. Your husband can parent his kid however he wants, but he doesn't seem to understand that you're allowed to do the same. It sounds like his idea of compromise is to just do everything his way. Also, Anna will always throw tantrums because he caves every time. He also threw a tantrum when he realized his wife and Tom wouldn't listen to him. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I wonder how long OP will put up with his whining before she kicks him to the curb. Yeah, and he's doing Anna no favors by raising her to be so entitled and obnoxious. Why couldn't Anna leave her snow pants off to turn this around since Tom could? Because that's not what your husband wanted. Rather than addressing his daughter's issues, he's forcing irrational things onto your son to get her to comply. It's time for him to man up and parent Anna rather than placate her. Huge giant red flags that he expects you to take things away from your boy just because he can't make his daughter listen to him. I would rethink staying with someone you constantly need to protect your son from. My husband convinced me to go see his parents for a week in another state. I had 2 reasons for not wanting to. For one, I just had a baby 1.5 months ago. I have PPD, and I'm still not up to par. I don't want to be around anyone, his mom especially, because I find it exhausting. And for two, they have an unruly Rottweiler that they have zero control over. He's not aggressive, but he's destructive, jumps on people and barks excessively. So I didn't want to go at all, but he assured me we would stay in a hotel and all would be well. There are only 2 hotels within a 1.5-hour radius, deep wooded area in Maine, and I reminded him and asked him several times if he booked the hotel. He said he was handling everything and to stop worrying so much. So anyways, we got to Maine last night, and lo and behold, the hotel closed its office doors at 8 p.m. It's a bed and breakfast, and the owners live in the house, and it's advertised as all doors closed by 8 p.m. right on their website, which I didn't know. We got there at 10 because he was catching up with his family. We returned to his parents' house, and they gave us the guest room. I brought the baby's bassinet, so I set that up, and we went to bed. Well, their unruly dog came in the next morning and peed all over the bassinet. Luckily, my baby wasn't in it. So I'm angry and tell my husband to bring me to the hotel because I'm 2 seconds from losing my cool. I told him to shut the door when he came out, and he didn't, so it's his fault. Well, he drives me to the hotel, and lo and behold, he didn't book in advance, so there's no vacancy. He said he assumed there would be openings because of how backwoods it is. So I called the only other hotel, 1.5 hours away, and nope, they're booked too. I told him I just wanted to go home at this point, but he refused and said we could just stay with his parents. I told him fine, but you're sleeping on the floor the entire time. I told him I wouldn't be putting our baby in that bassinet, considering we couldn't clean it without a rug cleaner that his parents didn't have. And I told him that he's not sleeping in the bed with me and the baby because the bed is a double, and I don't trust that one of us won't roll over on the baby, so she needs her own side of the bed. Since he's the reason we're in this position, he'll still make the sacrifice and sleep on the floor. Before going to bed tonight, he tried arguing that he should be able to sleep on the bed too, and that I should just sleep with the baby in my arms like I do when we have contact naps during the day. I told him that wasn't happening. 1 hour of naps is much different than a whole night's sleep, and I don't trust myself for that long to sleep with her in my arms, especially not being this exhausted. Before going to sleep, he said I was being an idiot and apparently punishing him for wanting to see his family and accusing me of trying to sabotage his trip. You are not the idiot. In all honesty, I have a suspicion that he purposely didn't call ahead of time to ensure that you guys had a hotel room in order to force you to stay with his parents. I would take the baby, get in the car, and go home. Seriously, co-sleeping can cause SIDS. Even if the baby had its own half of the bed, it's not safe. Leave him there and get home at any cost. Traveling out of state with an infant of a mother with PPD who isn't up to it is the part where he became the idiot. The rest is just bonus idiocy. The baby hasn't even had their first shots yet, right? She should leave this man-child with his parents and go home. Uber, whatever. Go home with her baby. Lady, your husband's a moron. I didn't think any of this was accidental. I think he just figured it was NBD. If you said it somewhere, you could rest and not have a dog pee over the bassinet because it's not his bed. He gets what he wants, a visit you didn't want to go on anyway. The entire visit was all about him. Him. I'm just going to suggest that the next time you don't want to do something, you just tell him no. And if he keeps nagging at you, tell him to screw right off and go stay with mommy, because you're not. You're an adult, and you don't have to do something you don't want to do. And for him to even think you could just throw a sheet on the bassinet and put your baby to bed is crazy. Next time, tell him to screw off and go do what he wants because you're not going to. This is just so much BS.